For a very long time, I had been longing to go for a cross-country road trip in Canada, but I was not getting the right opportunity, and I waited. Eventually, eventually, I did get an extremely nice opportunity when I was hired in Windsor, Ontario, while I was staying in Edmonton, Alberta. For a road trip between these two cities, you'll have to drive for approximately 4,000 kilometers, and if you drive continuously without taking any break, it is going to take you approximately 40 hours. My wife and I are always up for adventures, and so we decided to go for it. The map in front of you outlines the entire route that we took for our cross-country trip. Before we even started planning the trip, we decided to set some ground rules. We agreed on not driving for more than 8 hours per day. We also decided to kind of start our journey really early and end the day's driving before sunset so that we can only drive during daytime. We also plan to take frequent breaks at scenic locations. And we preferred to book our night stay locations using Airbnb so that we can interact with the locals. With all these points under consideration, our trip spanned over 6 days with 5 night stays. So without wasting any more time, let's dive into the trip. On day 1 of our trip, we traveled from Edmonton to Saskatoon. The total distance traveled was a little over 500 kilometers, and it took us about 5 hours for the entire journey. We didn't take breaks because we started a little late on the very first day, but the ride was pretty uninteresting. Here are a few pictures from the very first day of our trip. Day 2 was a little more eventful. In this day, we traveled from Saskatoon to Winnipeg and covered a total distance of approximately 800 kilometers over 8 hours. During today's journey, we passed numerous magnificent lakes, and we also traversed across many canola fields. We also saw a very peculiar animal in one of the fields we passed. We spent the night with a local Winnipeg family in a peaceful neighborhood east of Winnipeg downtown. On day 3 of our journey, we finally entered our destination province, Ontario. It took us about 8 hours to travel a distance of about 700 kilometers from Winnipeg to Thunder Bay, which was our destination for the night. As you can see in the images, as soon as we entered Ontario, we started to see big trees, which was in stark contrast to what we saw in Manitoba and Saskatchewan provinces. We also had time to stop by some local touristic spots. We spent the night in a hotel very close to the port of Thunder Bay. When we woke up on the 4th day of our trip, we were already very exhausted. Today's trip was from Thunder Bay to Sault Ste Marie, and this trip turned out to be one of the most exciting days of our trip. We took frequent stops in this 700-kilometer ride. Two of the places we stopped by that are worth mentioning are Catherine Cove and Agawa Falls. I would definitely recommend you stop by these two places if you ever happen to drive from Thunder Bay to Sault Ste Marie. We also took a mini break at a small harbor we passed en route.
is what I like, this kind of road with the lake one side and the mountain other side. Okay, I see much. That's a
We spent the night at a hotel in the heart of Sault Ste Marie. Day 5 was a relatively shorter day with only 650 kilometers to cover from Sault Ste Marie to Newmarket, which was in Greater Toronto Area, GTA. Since we had a little extra time today, we decided to go for a little walk in the nice neighborhood of Sault Ste Marie. Sault Ste Marie is a small city along the river St. Mary's. It's interesting to note that a city with exactly the same name is also located on the other side of the river in the United States. We started our journey after breakfast. We stopped for lunch in a place called Parry Sound because we finally found a Boston pizza here. But we eventually figured out that this place is also famous for its harbor. We spent the night in a quiet neighborhood in Newtown, Ontario. Day 6 marks the very last day of our exciting road trip. Today, we'll be traveling from Newmarket, Ontario to Windsor, Ontario. And we are traveling a distance of approximately 400 kilometers. Let's enjoy a little bit of the driving experience today in fast motion. Windsor is located on the southwest region of Ontario, and the widely popular Highway 401 finally ends in Windsor. The city of Windsor is located along the banks of the river Detroit. The river gets its name from the city on the other side of the river, the most popular city of Detroit in the United States. What you can see right now is the view of Detroit skyline from Windsor. Since we had a little time today, we just went out for a walk and saw Detroit skyline, which was absolutely fabulous. As you probably figured out from the video, the current in the river Detroit is pretty strong, and as a result, swimming in this river is strictly prohibited. This brings us to the end of the video today. So if you have any questions regarding this trip, or if you want to plan a trip from Edmonton to Windsor or even Toronto, feel free to get in touch with me through comments, and I would be very happy to assist you and guide you towards planning of such a trip. So this is it for this video. Until next time, adios.